In today's history lesson, we are going to find out about a very important person in American history. Who was Martin Luther King and what did he do? Martin Luther King Jr. was a black American leader who believed that all people should be treated equally under the law. His parents taught him to treat all people with respect, and throughout his life he worked hard to break down the barriers between races.
The life and work of the civil rights campaigner, Martin Luther King, is celebrated every year on the third Monday in January. It is a public holiday in America. Dr. King lived at a time when people in America were treated differently according to the colour of their skin. Black people and white people were often kept apart in schools, hospitals, and on public transport. He experienced this himself when he was 6 years old, and he and a white friend were sent to different schools. Dr. King was a very clever man. He had several university degrees and went on to become a church leader. He spent his life fighting for people of different races to be treated equally.
The beauty of this struggle is that we have white people who are as concerned about this problem as we are. And I think this is marvelous. I think it represents the greatness of this movement.
The campaign began with the arrest of a black woman called Rosa Parks, who refused to give up her seat on a bus to a white passenger. Dr. King led a one-year protest during which black people refused to travel with this bus company. Dr. King was a very important person in American history, leading non-violent campaigns and marches. He became known for giving great and powerful speeches. His most famous speech is I Have a Dream, where he describes his vision of an end to racism in the United States. He made this speech in 1963 during a march for jobs and freedom in Washington.
But that is something that I must say to my people who stand on the warm threshold which leads into the palace of justice. Let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for freedom by drinking from the cup of bitterness and hatred.
In 1964, Dr. King became the youngest person ever to win the Nobel Peace Prize at the age of 35. He continued his campaign for world peace and equality. But on the 4th of April 1968, he was shot and killed in Memphis, Tennessee, in a racially motivated attack. Dr. King was there to support black workers who were on strike because they did not get paid the same as white employees. Martin Luther King's achievements and abilities paved the way for equal rights across the globe. Today, he is remembered as a great hero and one of the greatest orators, or speakers, in American history. His speeches and writings still have the power to inspire people all over the world.
Where was he born? Martin Luther King was born on 15th of January 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia, America. He was the eldest son of Martin Luther King Sr., a church minister, and his wife, Alberta Williams King. What was his childhood like? As Martin grew up, he found that not everyone agreed with what his parents believed. He noticed that black people and white people were treated differently. He saw that he and his white friends could not drink from the same water fountains and could not use the same toilets. Martin's best friend as a child was a white boy, and as children they played happily together. His friend went to a school for white children and Martin was sent to a school for black children. After the first day of school, Martin and his friend were never allowed to play together again. What happened to Martin Luther King after he left school? As a boy, Martin loved to read books about famous black leaders. When he grew up, he went to college and got a PhD degree. He became a minister of a church in Alabama. He was then to be addressed as Dr. King. 1955, Dr. King became involved in the civil rights movement. This was a campaign to change the law so that all people were treated equally. He was successful in changing the law about black and white people travelling together on buses. Dr. King's work and efforts showed that peaceful action could bring about change. What else is Dr. King famous for? In 1963, he made his famous I Have a Dream speech in Washington, D.C. in America. Here are some of the words. I have a dream. I have a dream that one day little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. Dr. King believed in bringing about changes in a peaceful way. In 1964, he won the Nobel Peace Prize. He was the youngest person ever to win the prize.
He was born on a cold day in the South. He spent his youth looking all around and noticed things weren't fair. So he studied and read with all his might, looking for hope and searching for light, for injustice was too much to bear. And then one day he became a man. Dr. King thought up a plan to help people feel love instead. The time then came for action. He used his voice with passion, and this is what he said. I have a dream. We'll all be free. Our nation will rise up, and we'll let freedom ring. Through the mountains, through the hills, and through the plains, and through the woods, we will put aside our differences and sing of peace. So he prayed and led, doing all he could, finding a way to be understood. So he marched to Washington, and people came from all around. They sang together and stood their ground. Free at last, we'll work until we win. And they said, I have a dream. We'll all be free. Our nation will rise up, and we'll let freedom ring. Through the mountains, through the hills, and through the plains, and through the woods, we will put aside our differences and sing of peace. Even though we celebrate him just one day each year, his message lives forever, and we hear it loud and clear. I have a dream. We'll all be free. Our nation will rise up, and we'll let freedom ring. Through the mountains, through the hills, and through the plains, and through the woods, we will put aside our differences, put aside our differences, put aside our differences, and sing of peace.
What happened to Dr. King later in his life? Dr. King continued his campaign for world peace. He travelled across America to support and speak out about equal rights. In April 1968, Dr. King went to Memphis, Tennessee to help a group of workers who were on strike. On April the 3rd, he gave what would be his last speech. The following day, on April the 4th, 1968, as he was leaving his motel room, Dr. King was shot and killed. A white escaped prisoner, James Earl Ray, was arrested for his murder, and he was sentenced to 99 years in prison. How do American people celebrate the life of Martin Luther King? In 1983, the third Monday in January became a holiday in honour of Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. People take this day to remember the achievements of this leader. Your task is to make a mini fact file about Martin Luther King. Find a photo or draw a picture of him, and then write 8 facts about his life and achievements.
Mr. King, we want to tell you, Mr. King, we hope you hear us, Mr. King, that yes, we do believe, Mr. King, we believe, oh, that everyone is equal. We believe, Mr. King, we believe, oh, that everything is equal. We believe, oh, the rocks and the trees, flowers and the bees, the animals and everyone are equal. We believe, Mr. King, you